Couple
Good morning, Breakfast with Bacon fans. Today, many of you may have heard about the worldwide Eucharistic procession that was started or founded, I should say, in the country of Ireland earlier this month. And it was fantastic. It went around the world. And some of us did not hear about it until after the fact. Well, I'm making sure that for 2026, you all hear about it because I do believe that the Lord is doing amazing things and he is waking his children up. So here to talk about that today, as I said, is Barry Mallett, and he's on the committee for what they call the Come Follow Me movement. And we're so excited to have him all the way from Ireland. And I was going to say, top of the morning to you because this is breakfast and it's always breakfast time, isn't it?
always in Ireland, always top of the morning.
Always top of the
Great,
morning.
Christine. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's a pleasure, and it's so nice to get an opportunity to speak to all your viewers too as well. You're well. Everybody loves you in Ireland.
Oh, well, we'll have to set them straight. We'll have to tell them the truth. But so just so people know, we're not doing a show just about the past tense, about something we missed, because some of you didn't miss it. Some of you saw it. Some of you flew in for it. But this event in 2025 actually involved 72 different parishes in 26 different countries in 6 different continents around the world. We just need to get that seventh continent in there. But somehow, and something like that, look, I've tried to organize a conference. You don't get that kind of spread without God's help, without the Holy Spirit doing something. So, can you tell us, Barry, about you were telling me before we went on the air about the first time this took place in 400 years was last year, but then this year it just exploded. So can you kind of tell us the history of what happened, why it happened, and how are we going to make this grow?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Christine. Well, first of all, they understand the context of it. In Ireland, where I come from, is the north of Ireland, a town called Derry. The town Derry was probably more famous with the troubles around the world. Bloody Sunday happened in Derry, and also it was 1972. And then go back to the early 1600s, the siege of Derry happened where the English came in and basically ripped and pillaged and knocked down monasteries and churches, and Catholics were starved and the church records were burnt. So nobody actually knows how many people actually died in Ireland in Derry. But so that was 400 years, and for the last 400 years, there has never been a Eucharistic procession in through the centre of the town in Derry because they built what's known as the Derry Walls, and in within the walls, the churches were knocked down and monasteries, etc. So there's never been a Catholic procession of our Lord Eucharistic through the town. And it actually happened last year, was the first one. And then this year, we try to build on that and do another one in the centre of the town, another Eucharistic procession. And what transpired from it was it ended up going global around the world, which is mind blowing.
How did that happen? Did you guys decide in advance, let's make this go around the world? Or did someone tell someone and that person told someone else? I mean, because like I said, this is a Holy Spirit thing. What was in your mind when you guys originally started thinking about spreading the word?
We had done a couple of smaller Eucharistic processions in the town within that year, sort of locally small. We did one for Christ the King, Adoration just, and then we did a local one. And there's a lot of, even to have a local Eucharistic procession, it takes a lot, you have to contact the Parades Commission and all the work that's involved in it.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work. It takes 6, 7, 8 weeks to organize it so it's done properly. So whenever Father Antonio from the Franciscan Friars, who was in charge of it, obviously under the guidance and blessing of our local bishop, who is a saint because he's, no matter what we do in Derry, he's always at the forefront. He's there leading it, like a phenomenal, and he's so enthusiastic to help and promote anything. So we had the blessing of our Archbishop Eamon Martin as well, and we had the blessing of our bishop who made a promo video. They
Of
called
who?
people out.
The bishop? So you
The,
had the
the
blessing of the archbishop and the bishop. Okay.
Yes, the archbishop and the local bishop. The local bishop even, I went to him and he made a 2-minute video calling people out and the clergy to come and join in, which was powerful. And then our Father Antonio, who of the Franciscan friars, who was put in charge of it, he then brought in a committee. There was about 10 of us, and he sat down and we talked about it. Banners and parades and officials and stewards and music. And the first meeting was basically about, let's just replicate what happened last year. And then somebody suggested, you know what? Wouldn't it be great if we got Medjugorje on at the same time? And one of the guys in our committee has a great contact, Father Leon, in Medjugorje and Daedry. So he flew over, had a chat with them, and within, I think, 3 days, 4 days, Medjugorje came back and said, no problem. At the exact same time, we will simultaneously have a Eucharistic procession. And so we started advertising Derry, Medjugorje, and then the next thing was Rome, no problem. New York, New Mexico, Canada, Indonesia, Jakarta, boom, 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 boom. And it just went crazy.
Wow. That's the Holy
absolutely
Spirit.
Crazy. A buzz.
Wow. So you didn't call these countries. People just got wind of it from, oh, they're doing it in Rome, and hey, can we do it at the same time? And they could have just done it without necessarily contacting you. But did they contact you and say, yeah, we're going to do this simultaneously?
Yeah, we had once we got Medjugorje on board, once we had the Archbishop, the Bishop, and the Medjugorje on board, there was a real buzz. You go, wait a minute, this is possible. We didn't even think it could happen. Because you know yourself, Christine,
Sure.
trying to organize even 3 churches to try and do something simultaneously.
Just trying to organize one conference and get people to come to the one conference and know about it. And yeah, advertising is not as easy as it seems.
Well, that is definitely, and it can be so stressful, and you're afraid in case it doesn't materialize. But because we had Archbishop, Bishop, Father Antonio, Grey Friars, we had a committee, then Medjugorje, and then about 2 days later, Rome's sent an email to say, hey, Rome's interested. And then Patrick McChrystal from HLI Ireland, which is, like the same as with pro-life, they were having a conference for Christ the King in Wexford, and they said, here, we'll coincide with you two as well. And then somebody said, right, we need to start doing interviews. So we got in contact with a friend of mine, Anthony Hogan, got me in contact with Avro from Uniquely Mary in Texas. So I did an interview with him, and then an interview with Mark McLean from Scotland, and then Ron from Muller of Refuge of the End Times, and then Bob from Elijah's Cloak, Carol from Being Catholic. And it just started going boom, boom, boom. And the next thing I know, then we were getting emails because we put up my email and the other email that we had, and I got 80 emails within 24 hours. I got 80 emails from countries all around the world, priests, parishes, asking for more information. So I had to sit down and email off individually, because you couldn't just do a generic one. You had to put a bit of thought on it and explain to them the poster, the flyers, the intentions, what we were asking other people to do. We were asking them to do Eucharistic procession or adoration or mass. And then, so that was like, there was about 13 different parishes around the world in all different countries. And then I got asked to do an interview with Jill Mex, from the US National Flame of Love Senegal. And we spoke to Jill Mex, and then we spoke to in the Flame of Love. Father Jim Blunt had seen one of my interviews, and I know Father Jim Blunt well. We text quite often. He sent me a message to say, Barry, I'm sending this out to all my 200 of my close contacts. this could go global, and it just went crazy, crazy. And then Father Antonio was on EWTN and our interviews as well. And we did interviews on Medjugorje. And with I think because everybody started seeing everybody talking about it, it just went, everybody wanted a piece of it, and it just went global, viral. And I have to say, for about 6 weeks, we literally never stopped. We had people flying in from Albro, from Texas, Scotland, around the world were flying in to do live feeds. We had EWTN, the worldwide news that was on. We had Shalom TV, Radio Maria doing interviews, and they were all covering it live as well. And the footage that we got from it was phenomenal. And we had a local photographer who's one of Ireland's most gifted photographers give her time free, which was then sent out all around the world. The photographs were just phenomenal. Kira McDade photography. So the way it happened just confirmed to us that, one, this was no single person. Two, it was like as if it was imprimatus from heaven saying, this is ours, it's nothing to do with you. And the response that we got back was so humbling to see. I went to all the local schools and asked all the local schools, the principals, would they send 20 children in their uniforms with the principals and the teachers? So whenever the priest came walking out with our Lord to do the Eucharistic procession, we had 140 school children all in a line, and we had brought in the children's rosary. We have a children's rosary here in Derry, with my daughter's part of, and we had the children of the Eucharist all involved. So they have the children and the youth, because what we believe was the children are going to convert the parents. They're going to bring Jesus back into the homes, because I think not only in Derry in Ireland there's been a lost generation in the last 30 years with the Troubles, but I think around the world too as well with the internet. Children are so distracted, with iPhones and tablets over the last 20, 25, 20 years, that God's sort of been, it's like as if it's distractions from distractions. So the real aim of this Eucharistic procession was to bring Jesus, our Eucharistic Lord, out onto the streets so people can have a personal relationship with Jesus, and they bring the children on board so we could now start re-educating and like a new catechism to the children. So the children are now starting to go home and say to their parents, "Here, we want this." And it's Christine, honestly, it would bring a tear to a stone to actually be part of it, to see the way we ended up with. Now, last year we had 600 people. This year we had 5,000 people.
Around the world, or 5,000 just in Ireland?
Just in Derry, just in one place in Derry, 5,000 people, and the town was on fire. It was electric, and the amount of clergy that joined in. It happened in Australia at the same time for the first time in 23 years. Perth had a Eucharistic procession. It happened I had people sending me photographs from Malawi in Africa. Them sitting in their huts, praying and rosaries, and unbelievable, Christine, mind blowing.
I know. Well, because, if there's 5,000 by you and you multiply that by, you have 72 parishes, you said, in 26 countries, figure even if there's 1,000 people at each parish, right? That's 76,000 right there. But I'm sure some places were greater than others. But there's a significance to having it in Ireland too. Again, you said 400 years earlier, there hadn't been any, and forgive me for going off the subject just a little bit, but, being an ignorant American, only hearing about the Irish and the Protestants, what is it like being a Catholic in Ireland today? Is there still that tension between Irish or Catholics and Irish Protestants? And did this Eucharistic procession do anything, do you think, to open minds or connect people, or speak to that?
Well, when you look at the history of Ireland, with Protestants and Catholics. For your viewers that don't know, as I say, the English came in with the plantation, was known around the year 1600. Well, it was before that, 16th century. But there's always been a division between Protestants and Catholics in Ireland, in the north of Ireland. The south being predominantly more Catholic, the north of Ireland being sort of split Catholic and Protestants, where the Protestants were given the greater land, the better jobs. There was in the Catholic areas there was higher social deprivation, higher unemployment, higher crime, etc. So over the last now, since the peace process with Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton came over to Ireland and was negotiated the peace process. Over this last 20 years, there has been a lot more peace and a lot more working together with Protestants and Catholics. It's definitely with the end of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, there's been a lot more peace, and everybody wants peace, Christine. Everybody wants peace. You know, Ireland has suffered so much. And then in the 18th century, 19th century, with the famine in Ireland too as well, which is a different subject, which was aided and abetted by the English. And at that point, the Irish refused to renounce their faith. You know, they died rather than renounce their faith. You know, so when you look at the history of Ireland and what Ireland has done, even going back the last 1500 years since St. Patrick, the way the Irish missionaries went around and evangelized the whole world, Ireland's known as the guardians of the faith. Ireland has that name as being the guardians of the faith. France is known as the eldest daughter of the church. And when you take a look at worldwide, one of the most attacks on Christianity is Ireland and France throughout the last 20, 30 years, not even 20, 30 years. So, but getting back to the point of the separation between Catholics and Protestants, a lot has been done in the last 20, 30 years to bring them all together. Now, the Eucharistic Procession, did it bring a lot of Protestants on board? Not really. But what it has done for the town is, as I mentioned to you before we went on here, is that there's from the procession going around the world and people watching it, there's been different mystics and seers around the world. Marino Di Sepio, who is worldwide, said when he was watching the promo video and watching the Eucharistic procession, that he could see demons flying from the city. Like, that seems uncomprehendable or unfathomable for somebody that isn't in their faith to comprehend that and understand that. So we're hearing a lot of stories about, like, for example, when St. Patrick came here to Ireland in 450, he performed what's known as the Great Exorcism. It was a pagan country, and it says that St. Patrick got rid of the snakes. Well, the truth was he didn't get rid of the snakes. What he really got rid of was a symbolic serpent, the devil, the demonic spirits. So for people they see the demons getting exorcised. What this was for the for the north of Ireland was like an exorcism. And we're only finding this out now. It's like hindsight. This is only after the procession. People are coming back to us and saying, you know, we seen demons flying from the center of Derry. And I actually get goosebumps up my body telling you that. We actually seen demons flying from Derry. And it's like a second exorcism. It's like a second Pentecost.
It's awesome. There was, in fact, a prophecy that St. Patrick himself made. And I think that we should tell the viewers what that was, because that leads into things that we should start keeping our eyes open for today. Yes?
Definitely, Christine. Great point again. Yes, there's a prophecy from St. Patrick that around about the year 460, 470, around about 450 in that area, that St. Patrick made a prophecy. Whenever St. Patrick came to Ireland, he came and it was taken away as a slave back to England and France, and in his testimonial called his breastplate, his confession, he said that he heard a voice, calling them back to Ireland. And that voice was the angel Victrix, the angel of Ireland. Because as we know, every country has we all have guardian angels. Every country has an angel.
Right.
And the angel Victrix, Victor called them, "Come, holy boy, come back." And St. Patrick came back, and he went to the Hill of Slane. And at the top of his Hill of Slane, a lit
What
a
is it? A
fire.
hollow what?
The Hill of Slane, Slane.
Oh, is that
Slane.
a hollow? Is that like a city or something?
No, it's just a hill, like a mountain, like a hill.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Forgive
My
my
accent.
lack of wisdom of Ireland there.
No, it's my accent. That's what it is. So he went to the top of the hill and he lit a flame, and the flame was a sort of a call out, like a cry of defiance to the pagan chieftains. And he then went and converted them all to Catholicism. Now, he had a vision, and he seen in the north of Ireland the embers of flames going out, flickering. And he seen a flame lighting from the north of Ireland, and it's spreading throughout the whole of Ireland, and then spreading throughout the whole UK, and on to continental Europe, and through the whole world. So this prophecy has been known for 1,500 years in Ireland. And so whenever we did, and the reason why the significance of us having the Eucharistic procession in Derry is the city from the north. And it's
so it's in a Protestant part of the country.
Well, it's mixed. It's mixed. It's
right, but it's not the south, which is solidly Catholic.
Yes,
it's
yes,
the north,
exactly.
which is where you'd find, the more of the turmoil. And so from the north, what I'm saying is the south would be obvious, but that it's coming from the north.
Exactly, a great point. And that's, as you said, what you spoke about earlier about the division in the north. The division in the north between Protestants and Catholic, and Derry being the place where the English invaded and destroyed, burnt, killed the Catholics and starved them. And then that was in the year 1600. And then in 1972, the Troubles happening with the English shooting 12 innocent Catholics dead, which has been known around the world. So Derry, but the reason why it happened in Derry is because Derry is built on the oldest monastic site in Ireland. So St. Patrick seen this vision, this flame, and then whenever the friars decided last year to have the Eucharistic procession, and then this year again, it was as if the flame was being lit, because the procession happened on the feast of St. Bridget of Ireland. And St. Bridget is known as Fiery Arrow. And that's the day that was happening on, the feast of St. Bridget. It was a 1500th anniversary of her death. So whenever you started to take a step back and sort of look at what's going on here, you go, whoa, we didn't want to say this is the fulfillment of the prophecy. But from hindsight's a great thing. Whenever you can look back now and say, wait a minute, St. Patrick made that prophecy. This happened on the feast of St. Bridget, the 1st of September or 1st of February, in the town of Derry, a city from the north that has known more persecution than anywhere else for Catholicism, and that a flame would start. It seemed as if there was a second Pentecost was happening, and what transpired and what happened from it, the way it went global around the world in 72 parishes and 6 continents around the world within 2 or 3 weeks, to me just confirms that one, it was not the fulfillment, but the
beginning of the fulfillment, the onset. Yeah,
definitely. And then the next day, the Sunday was the feast of Candlemas, the feast of Our Lady of Good Success, the feast of the Flame of Love, and the feast of the Presentation of Child Jesus in the temple. So it was, and as we know, the eve is linked with the feast day. It was as if the Candlemas, the feast of Candlemas, was the igniting of the spark. And from that now, our places in Ireland have now contacted us now to say, we're having a procession on the eve of St. Patrick's Day in the heart of Ireland and Southern Ireland. And all the committee, us, and there's busloads from Derry, we're all going down to it. So it's now starting to spread.
And it's going to happen again in 2026. And that's really what I wanted to. I felt so bad that I couldn't get to Ireland or even do the show beforehand. But now I want all the viewers to know this is a Holy Spirit just spreading throughout the world. And, we should start making plans. Of course, many people can't fly to Ireland, but the idea of organizing your own parish. I mean, this year in 2025 was 72 parishes. I'd like to see that times 10. Everything
Wow.
God does is in tenfold. 720 parishes. We can do that. We can do it in, more countries and get one more continent in there if we can. Right. But but to know that it's coming out of Ireland. And I think that there's something momentous going on right now. We're looking at Pope Francis possibly dying this year.
Yeah.
If he makes it through this current bout. I don't think any of us are confident that he's got much time left. And so God's going to be, bringing a new pope at some point in the very near future. He needs his church to come alongside, to wake up and to start. We need to save the church. We don't know what we're going to have. I know this is always controversial to say, but the Antichrist is going to come. We just don't know when, right? We're one day closer. We're 1 year closer. And so a lot of people are like, well, maybe I talked to a girl today. She said, maybe our next pope will be a renewal or maybe even a reprieve from leading us into the time of the Antichrist, which would be wonderful if that would happen, even though, of course, at some point the Antichrist has to come. But even if it's not the reprieve, to see the world to start come together like this, and let's process Jesus, the light of the world in every country, start waking people up to be prepared like a mighty army for when the Antichrist does, in fact, make his evil appearance around the world. We will have been awakened, I think. And I think this is instrumental in helping to wake people up to that when that does happen. Do you think?
Oh, couldn't agree anymore, Christine. Excellently put, definitely for the shadow of a doubt. And it's funny that without going into too much private revelation and prophecy, if you take a look at the prophecies from Our Lady and all the different Marian apparitions around the world, coupled with the likes of Marie Julie Gianni and this and that and all the saints. What I sort of said to somebody too as well is, let's not forget Conchita from Garabandal is 76, and she has to see the fulfillment of the warning and the miracle in her lifetime. So if she has to see the warning and the miracle in her lifetime, this, say God gives her a long life, I know it's speculative, she loves day 100. The warning, the elimination of conscience, and the miracle are going to happen within the next 26 years if she loves day 100. And it's prophesied that the Antichrist will come on the world scene around the time of the warning because they try and distract people from the truth of the warning. So, the bottom line is he's coming without a shadow of a doubt. The Antichrist is definitely coming. Nobody knows when and where. But I think there's a lot of signs throughout the world, about the way things are happening. We're on the brink of World War III. Is Trump going to stop this war with Russia, Ukraine? Who knows? But I think that I know a lot of it is definitely speculative. But what you're saying is absolutely 100%. This has never been needed more than it is needed now. Definitely a rebirth, because what it really is, I was saying to people, it's a movement of love. It's a movement of hope. It really is a movement of hope. This is not me or the committee or anybody else. This is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the Holy Spirit is all over this, because the results that we've had of it, the interest that we've had about it, we haven't made no plans for next year yet. But I know that every single one of the, the YouTubers that I've been on talking to and following Tony, they've all asked us to come back on to talk about the fruits of it. And they're all saying, right, what's happening next year? What's happening next year? And we don't know yet, but it will. And this year being one, a jubilee year. Two as well, it's also the 100th anniversary of, in the 11th December 1925, Pope Pius XI made the church official declaration of what's called the Qua Primus, which is the first feast of the Christ the King. This is the 100th year anniversary this year as well, which means that this year is the 100th anniversary of the feast of Christ the King. It's also a jubilee year, a year of hope. You know, we've been asked by the Vatican to be pilgrims of hope, and I really don't think there's any better year for this to kick off. And also from this too as well, what has transpired is our Archbishop Eamon Martin, who's a fantastic Archbishop, has now since the procession has now called that he's now going to reconsecrate Ireland to the Sacred Heart in June this month. Ireland was the first country in the world to be consecrated to the Sacred Heart in June 1873. Then it was France, then it was Ecuador. So I see this as being another fruit of the procession, and basically the Holy Spirit just grabbing people, you know. And
let me say that one more time because your accent was thick. So you're saying that the Archbishop of Ireland is going to reconsecrate the nation to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I mean, that is pretty powerful. It's not just a priest, it's not just the bishop, it's the Archbishop. And again, these things are moving. That is pretty powerful. And as you said, he was just inspired. You didn't invite him to do that. He just was inspired and told you he would do that. I mean, it is, I can't help but feeling like God is just waking Catholics up, or, you know, Protestants, and making them Catholic. It's like he's just touching you on the shoulder and touching you and touching you and touching you. And all of a sudden we're going, I get it. I'm seeing people get it. Just the phrase out of the blue, whereas we always thought we had to explain to them or give them a big theological understanding. But no, you're just seeing people go, no, God spoke to me and now I know. And I think he's just going, you and you and you and you and do wake up. And I don't know what he's preparing us for, but it's really, really wonderful. And it's good to think that Ireland, you know, is the starting place for this, you know.
It seems as if Ireland was at the very start, Ireland was the first that started, because Pope John Paul even said that the monks from Ireland evangelized Poland. And it's as if it's going round full circle now, where Ireland went out and led the faith. But sadly, Southern Ireland, you take a look at it, because it's become part of the European Union. It's the first country in the world to vote for among Europe for same-sex marriage, euthanasia, by abortion, by referendum. So Southern Ireland has really, really fallen into decadence, and there's a massive influx of what do you call it, of illegal immigrants coming in. So that our government, our the south of Ireland, the government is really Freemasonic and very woke.
Yeah, it's sad.
But
I bet the Pope didn't write a letter to your president saying that he needs to let the immigrants in, the illegals, but we'll just put that one aside because enough people have talked about that. Let me ask you, how did you get involved in something like this? What's your faith journey? Were you born Catholic? Are you a conversion? What's your story?
No, I come from 11 of a family in Ireland, like the Waltons. We have a family WhatsApp group. We call it the Waltons. Very, 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 very blessed, to tell you the truth. Really, my parents are 84 and 82. 9 siblings, or collectively 9 children. And we grew up in a Catholic family. My mum, always remember my mum bringing in the rosary, the statue of Our Lady, and we all had to kneel down and pray the rosary. And you remember nudging your brother, and you know the usual. And but my grandparents, both sides of my family, were very devout Catholics, humble people, just humble people. And so we grew up with great faith in our family. And like everybody, not everybody, once being a young boy growing up, I grew up in Derry in the height of the Troubles. You know, half the Derry was burning. with the British Army. You had the British Army, the IRA. So I grew up with that now on the streets of Derry. And then once you hit 15, 16, 17, you start to drink and you start to meet women. The rest is history. You saw that. So I left my faith. I always believed, without a shadow of a doubt, always believed. And I wasn't practicing. And I left my faith for quite a long time until I was about 38. And then, but my family growing up, my mother's best friend, as I was explained to you, she is the woman that had a first class miracle approved by the Vatican. And this is the actual glove that St. Padre Pio wore.
Yes.
And
And
it's
from that
signed.
glove that Padre Pio wore, you said there was a miracle, and that miracle is one of them that was responsible for him becoming saint. Because you need two miracles, correct, to become
That's
saint?
correct.
Can you tell us
My
about that miracle?
Yeah, well, growing up, my mother's best friend is a woman called Anne Mulryan. 44 years ago, she was 7 months pregnant with twins, collapsed with a massive brain hemorrhage, was rushed to the local hospital, put on a life support machine, and her husband Shan was told, sign these forms or she'll be dead in the morning. Our plan is we want to put her on a life support machine for the next 8 weeks. At the end of the 8 weeks, we will have a cesarean because she's 7 months pregnant, but you will still have to prepare for your wife's funeral because she's clinically dead. So Shan agreed, signed the papers, and he went to his mother's home to get his other two children looked after. Now, this is his story. As he walked into his mother's house, someone said to him, he heard in his mind, now he wasn't overly religious, he heard, take Our Lady flowers now.
Take Our Lady what?
Take Our Lady flowers now. Flowers. Roses. A bunch
Oh,
of
okay.
roses. And he laughed and he walked on. When he went into his mother's home, his mother gave him a prayer to St. Padre Pio, who he never heard of. This was 44 years ago. So he then went up the local town, to get provisions for the family. And as he was walking past a florist, someone said to him, take Our Lady roses now. And he went and bought a bunch of roses, took them to the local cathedral, placed them down on the altar. And when they placed them down on the altar, the stem of the flowers caught the prayer in his pocket and it fell out. And he started to pray it. And he said he started to cry. And he made a vow at the altar. He said, if you save my wife and my children, I will spend the rest of my life telling people about you. He went back over to the hospital. Anne was on a life support machine and he was holding her hand. And he said, he said to God, if you're going to help me, show me, give me a sign. And she squeezed his hand. And he went and told the doctors and the consultants, and the doctors and the consultants said, no way, it didn't happen. You're grasping at straws.
Right.
So the next day, he kept acting and acting to the point that they moved her from the hospital in Derry to the hospital in Belfast, and a 90-minute drive away, where there were specialists. And they removed the top of the crown of her head and investigated and came back and said, no way did that happen, because the whole part of the brain was 7 bleeds in the brain, and the brain has partially dissolved. That woman will never be able to walk, talk, breathe, or blink. So that was okay. And the next day he was sitting in the hospital, he started to pray the rosary. And when he started to pray the rosary, a man came walking down the corridor. And Shan said he felt compelled to go and speak to him. And Shan went over and said to him, who are you? I'm Shan Moran. And the man said, I've got the Padre Pio glove for your wife. Now Shan doesn't know where he came from or who he was, but Shan said to him, go and do whatever you have to do. And the story is that Shan, the man with the Padre Pio glove, and the nurse walked into the room. Anne was in a coma, lying on the bed in a coma. And throughout the rest of this story, she remained in a coma. As soon as the glove was brought this close to her face, she sat up in the bed, remained in a coma, took the glove, blessed herself 3 times, and blessed her stomach 3 times, and the smell of roses in the room would have knocked you out. They went back and told the consultants, and the consultants obviously didn't believe them. But over the next 2 weeks, Anne came out of the coma fully. She was that well, she recovered that much that they were able to move her from the hospital back to the hospital in Derry, where she had the twins, and she was released on the feast day of St. Padre Pio, the 23rd of September. The twins are 45 years of age, they're still alive, and the woman, Anne, is 82 years of age and is sitting about 10 minutes away from me now and is still alive and is a walking, talking, first-class miracle. Go ahead.
That is just amazing that you get to keep the glove at your house. I mean, that's some serious connections.
Well, I don't keep it. I take it all the time and go and see her every day, every other day. She's
all right,
Mallet.
But you have possession. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so whenever she get flown to meet the Pope, her and her husband and my mum get flown to meet the Pope, because for any priest to be canonized as saint, there has to be 2 unequivocal miracles. And this is the miracle that was used for the beatification and canonization of St. Padre Pio.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I tell you, every time I knew someone sick, I'd be taking that glove going, all right, I got this. Get touched. Get well. Be healed. You know, I'd be touching everybody with it.
Be healed. Now, I've taken it. Now, Shan Mulryan, her husband, who is a man of his word, from that day that happened, they get flown to San Giovanni to meet Father Aliso. Father Aliso was St. Padre Pio's right-hand man. Whenever Padre Pio was getting battered by the devil, in his life story, he says that Our Lady appeared and put a pillow underneath his head. Father Aliso was the guy who was sitting writing this all down. He is the guy that signed the bottom of this for the authenticity. And just one quick, and then, so for the last 40 years, Shan has went round Ireland telling the stories. But he died 8 years ago, and I've taken over his role now, taking it out to people. So Shan has died, but his wife, Anne, is still alive and defies science. It's unbelievable. Wow. Mind-blowing, Christine. So humbling they have.
It is just so exciting to see. You know, I'm going to Uganda this year in May and June for the Ugandan Martyrs ceremony, the celebration, and then hear what God's doing in Ireland. And of course, God is doing amazing things in America, mostly right now, drudging up all the rot. We're getting to see stuff. We had a reprieve when President Trump was elected. He's not, you know, some things he's doing are not Catholic, like the IVF, but it's almost as if God is waking people up and saying, I'm going to give you your final chance. And I pray that everybody watching here doesn't just look at this like it's a television movie and pop popcorn and watch it happen. I hope that everybody watching becomes involved and stays involved, because we can no longer be complacent. And I think you said earlier that, okay, if you can't do the procession, we're calling on you to go to adoration and pray the rosary. What are some of the things that you think every viewer around the world should do or should take with them by watching this show today?
One that it's a message of love. It's a message of hope to go out around the whole world. There's so much doom and gloom and sadness around the world, and hurt and pain and war. They really, really, really know that, and really, really believe from the bottom of your heart that Jesus really does love you, and that there is a plan. There has been a plan since Genesis, right through to now, that whatever part that we are in salvation history, that it's all been foretold. All the doom and gloom has been foretold, but also the restoration of the Catholic Church. There's hope out there, and what's happening here in Ireland should give people this is actually not only going to help the lady. This is actually giving priests the confidence to stand up. They forget about the past. You know, about the scandals and this and that. Forget about the past. The clergy need to realize that we They have the church purgative, the church triumphant, and the church molten, all behind them. It's time to stand up now and go out and proclaim the faith. It's time to stand up now and not to be afraid. To take Jesus in his Eucharistic form out onto the streets. Go to your bishops, go to your archbishop, go to your priests and say to them, we're behind you. Please, we want to bring Jesus out onto the streets. They have a Eucharistic revival. This is like a second Pentecost. It's like what it's done here for Derry and Northern Ireland, and what it's going to do, it's like a great exorcism. And I think this should be happening in every parish, in every word, every country around the world. Why not, Christine? This is what our faith is about. You know, we have to be bold, we have to be brave, and we have to stand up and shout out from our rooftops. Listen, we're Catholic and we're proud. And we're calling all the religions. We're calling our separated brethren, our Protestants. Forget about their differences. We all believe in the one God. You know, let's unite the clans. It's time to come together. Because if we don't, we're going to get overrun. And if we don't, we're going to get trampled on. And listen, a country that forgets its past has no future.
Yes. Well, and they're doomed to repeat it. If you forget your past, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's what's really, really rough. So this has been wonderful. And I do want you to, make sure to let me know once you've set the date for the 2026, and then you and I can do another podcast and start promoting it. And, again, parishes around the world, we'd like for you to do it as well. It's called the Come Follow Me movement. And, no one better to follow than the God of the universe here. That you kind of answered my last question, but I'll ask it again very succinctly. Name one thing you'd have our viewers do differently as a result of something they watched today or heard.
I think I have answered it with on the eve of St. Patrick's, let's do something instead of painting the word green and pints of Guinness, although we'll have one definitely. Get your priest to do something in your local parish. Should it even be offer up your mass, offer up your morning offering, either have a adoration or a Eucharistic procession. Just like this. It doesn't matter if it's only 4 people. Numbers don't matter. Just like that we flame around the world and see what happens, because Ireland's on fire and we are spreading this flame, just like St. Patrick prophesies. We are sending this flame, and it's a flame of love, just like, around the world, a flame of hope. And Ireland is at the forefront, like it has been in the past, and it's going to do it again. And all I'm going to say is to be continued, Christine, to be continued.
To be continued. It has only just begun.
Definitely.
And I'm so excited you invited me to be a part of it. Hopefully next year, even though we'll try to get my church to do something here and many churches in the city of Virginia Beach, Virginia, but I'm hoping maybe I can make it out to Ireland. That's a country I've never been to. Just went to England and Scotland this year. And so I'd like to get to the, islands there.
You will be well looked after, because anybody that came over to us, they spent a weekend with us, both of them, Mark McLean and what he called Avro, they are convicted. They just said there's something about Ireland and the faith and Derry and what's happening, but it's spreading. It's our faith. It's the faith of our forefathers, and it's going to spread. Definitely.
It is going to spread, and it already is. And I thank you for your part in it. I know you were just used. You didn't do anything apart from telling Jesus, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so I'm grateful that you were obedient to his call and that you got the word out, and that you were so zealous about still talking with me, even though the procession for this year has already happened. And then we want people to be able to go look at that on site. We'll put a link right here in the show notes, so you can just catch a quick, short video on what it looked like in some of the places. Is the video some of the places around the world, or is it just in Ireland to see what happened there?
In Ireland, we have I'll send you a video with the promo video, and I'll send you the photographs from the Ciara McDade photography, which are absolutely breathtaking. And I will send you some of the footage from EWTN, and put the link up to the website too as well, for future reference for people too as well, because as I say, just to get as much promotion for whatever happens, amazing.
Excellent. Well, you guys heard it here. This has been Barry Mallett, and we're having a website you can go to just so that you can follow this and maybe plan it for your family vacation next year. And if you don't have the money, ask God. Ask him to provide it. He's done more miraculous things than that. We'll just hear the story of St. Padre Pio's glove and healing a comatose woman and so many other miracles. I am going to try to be there, so maybe you can bump into me, and I'd like to bump into you. You can follow me. Please share this show with your friends and family and have them start looking to mark their calendar. And you can watch it here on this channel. You can also find me on Rumble, on Instagram, Facebook, X, and I can't remember everything. My person does all that for me. But I'd love it if you liked and subscribed. Sign up also for my newsletter, and we will go ahead and let you know what's going on in my marriage saving ministry, as well as the podcasting here, as well as the Truth Speakers Conference. The Lord is just asked me to help him save 1 million souls. That's my goal. Save 1 million souls before I die. Of course, we know it's not me, but God through me. And well, we got to get going on this thing here. I think that's about it though. Oh, please. Everything I do is free. If you're feeling the Holy Spirit, say you'd like to help my ministry, right there is a link below that says buymeacoffee.com. I'll take any donations you can get so that I can keep on growing this channel and getting God's word around the world. So, all right, we're going to see just how good our Irish friend can remember how we end this show. Okay, we're gonna test you. I was telling Barry before we went on the air that there was only one person who didn't end the show the way I asked him to, and that was Bishop Athanasius Schneider. And he said, no, you do that. So I guess since he's a bishop, we'll let him have the slack. But Barry, I'm testing you. I am Dr. Christine Bacon. You've been watching Breakfast with Bacon. And I'd like to remind you always to live your life. Do you remember?
Always a sunny side up.
Sunny side up. He remembered.